Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing something that was requested from you guys, and that is talking about my gluten-free lifestyle. Back in the beginning to middle of January, I went gluten-free. And so I know not a lot of you, but some of you have had questions about it, and it's something that interests you guys about learning more, hearing about how I went gluten-free, how it's been for me going gluten-free, etc. So if you want to hear my thoughts and some kind of educational information on the gluten-free lifestyle, then let's just go ahead and get started. Oh, by the way, also, this is kind of probably going to be a little bit of a TMI story in my talking about why I'm gluten-free, so just want to make that disclaimer so nobody calls me out on it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the number one thing that I want to talk about is, what is gluten? What does that mean? Some of you may know, some of you might not. It just depends, you know, what your knowledge base is about that. I have a hair. Okay. So gluten is wheat. That is what that is. So your breads, your pastas, what else? Rolls, like cakes, stuff like that, like a burger bun, stuff like that that you probably wouldn't think about. That's what gluten is. It's wheat. That is what it is classified as. So another question that comes with that is like, okay, so if it's wheat and we've been eating wheat for years and decades and centuries of eating wheat, then how come all of a sudden in the decade that we're in are all these people getting gluten allergies? And I've done some research, and it is all because of the way that we are highly processing everything in the American diet. So the way that we're now processing wheat, how farmers are farming wheat, how it's being, all of the additives and all of the extra junk that goes into making bread and cakes and everything like that, where it's not from its raw natural form and it's being so processed and shoved full of other crap, is causing people to have an allergy to gluten, and our body is forming these defense mechanisms because it's not natural, it's not normal. And so it's causing all of these people to have severe gluten celiac allergies to what I have, which is a gluten intolerance. And so with that, you're probably wondering, okay, well, what's the difference between celiac disease and a gluten intolerance? So celiac disease is where you have a full, it's like severe allergy. Like, it's not something to be messed around with. I know some people in my past who were celiac disease, and when they eat it, they blow up like a balloon. They have just a severe reaction to gluten, and it's not something that they play around with. So that is celiac disease, where it is an allergy, but it's more on like the severe, very severe side. For me, I have a gluten intolerance, still an allergy, so to speak, but it's not as full-blown as celiac disease. So with me, I have an intolerance. So if I eat gluten, my stomach descends, I get very bloated, I have a lot of inflammation. This is where it's going to kind of get TMI. You know, I will get constipated and I won't go for like an entire week on end. Like, for me, it's bad. And so that's what the gluten intolerance does for me. Like, I can have like traces of it. Like, if something was fried in the same fryer that had gluten like in it, for instance, like I went to Ruby Tuesdays not that long ago. Sorry, I keep having this hair and I don't know where it's from. I went to Ruby Tuesdays last weekend with my mom, and I got wings, not breaded wings. I just got plain chicken wings. But obviously, with me working in the restaurant industry in the past, especially Ruby Tuesdays, I know that everything goes into the fryers. So you'll get chicken tenders in the fryers, you'll get boneless wings in the fryers, you'll get all kinds of things that contain gluten that will be in the fryer along with the chicken wing. So it's in the oil. That can be, like, I can have traces of it and it doesn't affect me. So that is okay. Sometimes it might upset my stomach a little bit, just depending on like the value or like the amount that is in the fryer, but normally I'm okay. Now somebody with full-blown celiac disease, they could not do that. They would be full-blown like having an allergic reaction. So that's kind of where it's different. Like I still get a reaction, but it takes a little bit more gluten for me to have my full-blown reaction. Like if I went and had a sandwich right now, oh, you better believe I would be absolutely horrible and I would be a hot mess. But like I've had some instances, and it's trial and error, like trying to figure out things that have gluten and they don't, but I will get to that. So the next question is, now that I've kind of determined the difference, why am I gluten-free? So about 3 years ago, this is again where it's gonna get a little TMI. So about 4 years ago, I had some really bad intestinal problems, and it's not uncommon in my family. We have all kinds of intestinal issues in this lovely family of mine on my mom's side. Like we have ulcerative colitis, diverticulitis, Crohn's, all kinds of things on my mom's side of the family. So I kind of figured that I probably would get it, and so I was hoping that I wouldn't, but you know, you never know. So I started having these intestinal issues, and I was like, what is going on? So I went to my doctor's. Turned out that I had an infection in my intestines. So I was like, what does that mean and how does that happen? She's like, it can happen from anything, you know, some type of food could have disagreed with you, whatever. But I got an infection in my colon, or in my intestines. So then I had to go have a colonoscopy. Worst thing of my entire life. I was just my dad. I mean, I was probably with my fiance for about a few months. Like, talk about getting Talk about like getting real close real soon when you're having a colonoscopy, ladies and gentlemen. Whoo, girl and boy. That brought us close. Luckily, we were not living together at the time, so I went through all of the prep process without him. But that was just the most awful thing I've ever had to go through. The prep. Like the actual colonoscopy and afterwards, it's not that bad. Well, if you guys want to know more about that, let me know. That's just an extreme TMI story, and I don't know if you want to know about that. Anyways, had to have a colonoscopy, and then my gastro doctor called me back, and he was like, everything looks good, but I do think that you have some sensitivity to gluten and that you have a gluten intolerance. He was like, you're not full-blown celiac, but you do have an intolerance to where your body does not agree with it. I was like, okay. So I went gluten-free for maybe 2-3 weeks. Maybe. Might have been a little bit longer. Didn't last. I was like, this is a pain in the ass and I don't want to do this. So I didn't. I ignored it. I let my body be the way that it was. I would constantly be bloated, not bloated, whatever. I didn't care. Because I was like, I'm so over this. So then it came to, I guess it was December of this past year. Yeah. Where I was working with my friend Courtney, and she was my nutritionist at the time. We'd only been working together for about a couple weeks, I would say. And, you know, I just wasn't losing the weight. It didn't matter how many macros I was eating. It didn't matter, you know, whether I was eating high carb, low carb, whatever. We just could not get it to work. And so I told her about my gluten intolerance, and she was like, you might have to cut it out. And I was like, I know, but I'm in denial. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, who wants to live that lifestyle? I don't. If you choose to do it and you don't have an allergy to it, you are a strange person in my mind, because if you shouldn't have to give up gluten, I don't know why in the hell you would. Anyways, so yeah, so I couldn't lose weight, and I couldn't lose weight, and I couldn't lose weight. And so I finally, you know, came to that realization. So back in January, I went gluten-free. So one thing that I want to kind of like sidebar into with this is that if gluten is not affecting you, and I mean by if it's not causing you, like if you're not able to like kind of hone in on that gluten is, you know, the reason for, like, I know a friend of mine, she is gluten-free because she gets severe migraines. So gluten causes her migraines because of the inflammation that it can cause, because gluten can cause a lot of inflammation in the body. You know, some people I know have it because of like other reasons. So if there is not something that gluten is physically doing to you and causing you either pain or inflammation or discomfort or like stomach issues, whatever it may be, you should not give it up just because it's the new trend or that's how you feel, or, you know, people are saying that gluten is bad for you, so you shouldn't be eating it. Because gluten and wheat has so many nutrients in it, like especially whole grain bread and stuff like that, that if you don't have to give it up for a reason, as in your body is rejecting it, you shouldn't do it. And it's probably by you doing that, it would be causing you more harm than good, because you're depriving your body of all these nutrients that it can sustain off of, because your body's not weird like all of us people that have gluten issues. Like my one friend, Jen, she said that gluten makes her feel like she's drunk. So I mean, like, gluten can really impact certain people, but if it's not impacting you like that, you shouldn't be giving it up. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. Like it or hate it, whatever. So now that I've kind of explained to you what gluten is, why I'm gluten-free, what have you, now I'll go into kind of like the more like informational things as to like how it's helped me and stuff. So going gluten-free has helped me. I've noticed it's helped my moods. I don't seem as like lethargic now that I've been gluten-free for about a month. I've also noticed that, you know, my stomach is a lot flatter. Like now I can go and eat gluten-free bread. Like Jersey Mike's now has gluten-free bread. Like I can go and have a sub from Jersey Mike's and I'm not walking out of there literally looking like I'm 7 months pregnant. Because that's what would happen, and I would get so full and I would be like, oh, well, I'm just full. That's all. Like it's no big deal. No, my body was reacting to the gluten and it was making me swell up like a balloon. It was insane the amount of inflammation that it was having, that it was causing in my body. And so, you know, I can go and enjoy food and it's not such a crash thing on my body and it doesn't react to me in a negative way. So that is like mainly how it has helped me and like the inflammation in my body. So that is like the number one thing. So when it comes to being gluten-free, you know, obviously you have to look out for a lot of things when you're going out to eat, a lot of things when you're picking up foods in the grocery store. Like for me, there were these summer salts that I had posted back, and I think it was like my November, December favorites video. And it was a seed. And so I didn't think that would have had any gluten in it until I had like 5 of them, flipped the package over, and it said it contained wheat. And that's when you look for. So like everything doesn't have to be labeled gluten-free for you to consume it. Like one of the most biggest controversies that I've seen in the gluten-free world is grits, because, you know, you can get yellow corn grits and they're deemed as gluten-free. But for somebody with an intolerance, like I'm not so sensitive that I can have the Quaker quick grits, because they're not deemed gluten-free because they sit on a truck next to something that's gluten-free. They're both in sealed packages, but one of them is gluten-free and one of them is not. And they're sitting next to each other. So because they're sitting next to each other and there could be cross-contamination, they are not considered gluten-free. I am not that sensitive. I guess there are some people that are that sensitive. I am not one of those individuals, so I can consume the quick cooking grits. Like those do not bother me. And I know the signs and I know what to look for too. So it's also listening to your body. Is something affecting you? You need to pay attention to it. So for me, like now, if I consume a little bit of gluten and it doesn't like make me swell up, it will make me gassy. TMI. I know people. You're getting to know me real well in this video. So, you know, it might make me a little gassy, but it's not like, it's not something insane. But that's when I know, okay, something I ate recently in the last few hours had gluten in it. What was it? And so in that same notion, that happened to me as well when I was at my best friend's house very soon after I went gluten-free. So like the first week when I went gluten-free, it was a week from hell. Gluten withdrawals are no joke. I am not kidding. I was sick. I had a headache so bad that I threw up. I don't get headaches like that. I don't get sick from them, nothing. I woke up one morning, I had a headache so bad, and within 30 minutes of me waking up, I was throwing up. Like, they're no joke. And I was like, are you kidding me? I don't remember this from before, but I guess because my body was screaming at me to stop eating it, that when I finally did, it was like having to get rid of all of this toxic waste, and it had nowhere else to go. It was insane. And so with that, I went to Chipotle with my best friend. Well, Chipotle is gluten-free. The only thing that is not gluten-free at Chipotle is if you get their tacos. So the flour corn tortillas for the tacos are not. Their chips are gluten-free and everything else is gluten-free. So there's no wheat in any of those products. So we went to Chipotle, and I had been drinking Angry Mules, and those contain Fireball in them, along with ginger beer. Ginger beer you can get gluten-free. There are gluten-free versions. You just, like the alcoholic ginger beer, you just have to make sure that it is imported and not domestic, because the imported are the only true gluten-free versions. Just a little tidbit for all of you people out there that are looking for, your ginger beer for your Moscow or Angry Mules, Well, if you're gluten-free, you're not drinking an Angry Mule, let me just put it that way. So I had like 3 of them, and we went and we got Chipotle, and we brought it back, and I had been just eating some chips in between. And so we were eating Chipotle, and all of a sudden I started feeling my stomach getting bigger and bigger, and I was like, hold up, what is it? Something is gluten, what is it? And I looked up on Chipotle's website, and I'm like, okay, it's not Chipotle. I don't know what this could be. So I just let it go. I'm like, maybe it was just because I had an empty stomach and all the alcohol, whatever. So it was probably about 4 or 5 days later, my fiance was like, oh, well, some wine isn't gluten-free. And I was like, bullshit. That's true. Some of the people you gotta be careful with wine. So some manufacturers, some wineries, they seal the barrels with like a gluten type of sealant and product. So you have to be careful. Like for me, I love Bogle wines. So I actually reached out to them, and within minutes they were getting back to me saying that the amount they've tested it before, it's like slim to none in their like per parts per million. So definitely reach out to maybe your favorite brand of wine or whatever if you're more curious and trying to figure out. But I do know that Cupcake Vineyards, they're 100% gluten-free, so that is something to keep in mind. But so I started going through the list, and there it was. Whiskey Fireball, not gluten-free. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, well, that's what it was, so I can't have that anymore. So I literally have a bottle at my house that I'm probably going to give to my best friend's mom because she loves it. So yeah, that was kind of like a doozy. And also soy sauce. Soy sauce has wheat. It says it right on the back. The best bet for you to do is anything that you're eating or buying from the store, just look on the back. If it contains wheat, it's fine. If you have an intolerance, if it's manufactured in a facility that might have traces of wheat, I'm good with that. Celiac people are not. They are not okay with that. And the good thing is that in this day and age, a lot of people are becoming aware of this gluten allergy and intolerance and, everything being gluten-free. So there are a lot more options for you that are available nowadays. So that is a good thing. Another thing that kind of takes me back to if you don't have an issue with gluten, like it physically doing something to you, that you shouldn't go gluten-free. Another piece of that is going gluten-free is freaking expensive. So if you don't have to, don't. It's expensive. Like, it is expensive. To get flour, to get crackers, to get bread, to get rolls, like, it's just so much more expensive than just getting a loaf of bread from the grocery store. Like, it's insane. So I would not recommend it if you don't have to. It boggles my mind, because if I didn't have to be gluten-free, I wouldn't be gluten-free. Let me just tell you that. And I am a baker, so me being gluten-free, it is rough, but it is also challenging me at the same time, because I love to bake, and people love my cupcakes. I have not yet tried them, my, little concoction yet, but when I do, those in my family, they will be trying them out. So yeah, that is kind of all I have on the gluten train, I guess, if you will, and like why I'm gluten-free and everything like that. So yeah, just, I just wanted to share that information with you guys, tell you how my journey has been on it. I really love it. I mean, I think that the way that this day and age is, and how we're becoming more accepting of the gluten-free people in the world, I think has made it much easier this time around. I don't really miss gluten, because I can still have my breads and my cookies and pasta and stuff like that. So not that I'm really a pasta person at all. See, the good thing is for me, when it comes to like carbs, I am a bread potato person. So for me, I can get bread that's gluten-free, and I've actually found some really good bread that's gluten-free, so that's fine with me. And then I'm good with just like mashed potatoes, baked potato, diced potatoes. I love potatoes. So for me, I think that that's a better thing for me. Like, if you're a pasta lover, it's gonna be a change for you. But yeah, that is really all that I have. If you guys have any specific questions, if you're new to gluten-free, if you're new to an intolerance, if you're new to celiac disease, whatever it may be, if you have any questions at all, just leave a comment down below and I will be sure to reply back. I'm really good with replying back to you guys. So just leave a question down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. But yeah, that is all that I have for this video. If you guys liked this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please be sure to hit the subscribe button down below, and don't forget to hit the bell for future notifications. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!